I find it fascinating how we as a human collective have managed to segregate and segment ourselves into these categories called religions, which are really just concepts that enough people agree on. Like, we have divided ourselves and we think one religion is superior than to the other based on what we have taken hold of and chosen to believe in order to soothe our souls, which are aching, and they ache even in religion. All because we keep running away from the main truth, the truth of why we're here, to save our own souls, to work out our own salvation. Like, we turn to religion because we believe we need saving. And yes, it is true. Your soul came here to experience a unique aspect of its expression. And while you were here, you inherited certain characteristics and ways of thinking by virtue of you being born of a man and a woman who have DNA, which carries information from generation to generation. And brokenness is sometimes embedded in that DNA. However, that saving you're seeking is precisely why you're here, to do the work, to overcome, to change things, to rewire certain neural pathways so that you can change the information that exists in your DNA. You are here to quite literally take hold of new truths and concepts, and by virtue of you doing so, you free the generations that will come from you and yourself, but you also rewrite the script in your DNA, right? So I always find it fascinating how when human beings have determined or become aware of their vulnerability where it pertains to death, to suffering, to uncertainty, or when they experience inner conflict and guilt and shame, and they really feel the weight of responsibility, moral responsibility at that, we turn to religion for salvation instead of working it out ourselves, instead of confronting it, instead of grabbing the bulls by the horn and going right into the eye of the storm and dealing with it. That's what you came here to do. That's your purpose. You keep looking for that one purpose that is going to make you rich, because we've been told once you find your purpose, then you'll be fulfilled. And that fulfillment looks like success, which is defined as amassing as much materialistic wealth as you possibly can. That purpose is for you to work out your own salvation. So instead of doing that, human beings realize that life is full of pain, loss, violence, injustice, unpredictability. And so they turn to religion, which promises some sort of order in a chaotic world. It promises peace. It gives you an escape. Why is it easier for you to believe that some invisible God in the sky is going to come and save you from all your misery, when you're the one who wakes up every morning and makes conscious decisions that accumulate and make up your reality? Like, it's so fascinating to me how humans reason their need to believe certain concepts. It's concepts. You could start your own concept today about what God is, who God is, and run with it. And if you get enough people to agree with you, you've formed your own religion. Like, these are concepts. And the more you grow spiritually, like the more you evolve as a spiritual being, the more you heal your soul and you allow it to evolve and expand, because that's what love is. You are love, and love expands. Love is constantly in a state of expansion. And once you start radiating and moving from that place, operating from that place of realizing that you're a soul seeking its evolution, you don't shy away from doing the work. You don't shy away from healing. You don't shy away from really sitting with yourself and confronting all these all this information that exists inside of you, which breeds fear inside of you, which breeds uncertainty and makes you feel so vulnerable. You face it because you realize that that's where your freedom lies. Like where it pertains to suffering and chaos, for instance, we know we're going to suffer. Life is full of ups and downs. Even your heartbeat attests to that. It's supposed to be that way. But one thing that can remain constant is your state of mind, your state of consciousness while you're going through those ups and downs. That's what makes the difference. How you reason that, how you find strength in remaining content whether things are good or bad. That's what Paul meant when he said, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. In context, he was talking about how he's been in jail and persecuted and experienced living in, palaces and whatnot. But he has been content through it all. And it's in his contentment that he found strength, that he drew strength. He was strengthened. So it's so fascinating to me, even when it pertains to the concepts of like death and morality. Isn't it crazy how a lot of people, if not all, fear death? But it's the one thing that is inevitable. Death is inevitable. We're all born so we can die one day. We are going to die. Why are you afraid? And because you're afraid, you're running to religion because it promises you an afterlife. It promises you a place that you can go and find peace and joy forever and ever and ever after you die. So you cling to this concept because you're afraid to confront an inevitable truth that you're going to die. Why not make the most out of this life so you're not so afraid? Like, we are constantly seeking some sort of liberation from this cycle of life and death. But it is inevitable. It's going to happen. Whether you like it or not. We struggle to come to terms with sitting in the face of things, in the face of adversity, and still being at peace, still being able to draw joy from within ourselves. Because there's so much chaos happening inside of us. There's so much noise that we would rather sit on our phones on these little screens and scroll and keep ourselves distracted from actually listening to the noise and calming the storm that is happening inside of you. And instead of doing that, you would rather act from that storm, act from that place of mayhem, act from that place of chaos, and start bleeding on everybody else because you're so hurt inside. You're bleeding on everybody else. You're bleeding on you're bleeding in people's comments. You are bleeding on people's screens because you're not willing to sit and tend to your wounds. You're not willing to sit and retrieve your soul from different places where it was lost and broken. Like, human beings are fascinating creatures. In terms of like where moral guilt and shame are concerned, human beings are the only species that reflects deeply on right and wrong. The only species. A lion will go and eat a deer now, and he won't feel like he did anything wrong for doing so. He's surviving. He knows that's the cycle of life. He knows that his appetite was created for that very reason. That's a part of his diet. That's his diet. And yet, even your very staunch Christians will judge people and condemn people for doing what is wrong. But even your Bible says there is neither good or evil, female nor male, master nor slave. It's absurd. It's absurd. Human beings are fascinating, man.